the Going Live song. We're live. According to YouTube, we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another exquisite, magnificent, and grand episode of the best darn show on the internet, the Over Sharon Show. We apologize for the little bit of technical difficulties we had in the beginning. YouTube is we love YouTube. Thank you guys so much for all you do. And I guess because it's free, you can't really complain, but it gets a little wonky sometimes. Yeah, when I went to schedule this stream, you have to put everything in. And the last thing I had to save with the time and it pinwheeled and I was on my desktop on my Mac Mini and it pinwheeled for a while. And then it said, I don't know. Something went wrong. Yeah, I love it. Something went wrong. I want to know who the person that came up with that
Useful.
phrase was for the first time, So, yeah, you got that right. That's an understatement. Anyway, so I saw it, but I couldn't click on it on the desktop. It was really weird in the list. So I went on my phone, set the time up, set it, and then a little while later, Sharon's like, "This is set to private," and I'm like, "What?" So I went back in there, and I guess it had somehow set it up like a
A video,
premiere.
not a live stream. Yeah.
Yeah, it set it up like a premiere instead of a live stream, which I so anywho, we gotta go. We're resilient. I went through and changed the link, so hopefully you guys made it here. And if you're not watching live, thank you for watching later. Make sure you guys, if you enjoy this content, hit thumbs up, share it around, subscribe. Morelawsmoreproblems.com is the website. If you want more oversharing stuff, click on the oversharing tab there, and you have it. We never do a commercial at the beginning, so
Oh,
you know,
wow.
in our real commercials for our pyramid scheme, if you guys want to get we can't really talk. See, we talk about the pyramid scheme later in the episode. So we'll mention it now. There is a pyramid scheme. We don't
The
there's
greatest
no
pyramid scheme ever.
greatest and there's no financial risk at all. Like you could donate if you want, but there's no financial for the pyramid scheme. So yeah, keep going later. It's the best pyramid. I mean, keep watching until later. We'll somebody bring it up. We'll talk about it. Anywho, what's up, Sharon?
Good. It's it's been interesting looking through some of this material again and reviewing it.
Yeah, 100%. It's great because we talked about it so much. Now, Sharon went all the way back to episode 20, and which for people who are kind of new or don't really know, in the beginning I had a weird numbering system. So episode 20 wasn't our 20th episode. It was at least our like almost
Like
close to
it was like
50
our
probably.
43rd or something like that, if I
Yeah,
remember
40s at least because
correctly.
we were doing like two, sometimes three for each episode. But anywho, we talked about this stuff. But since then, when we did an episode a couple weeks ago where we revisited some stuff with the occult when we were singing the old Coltare song. And in that same way, I think there's so many things we've learned. And then also, we're almost done with the Tao Te Ching. We only have three, right? Three verses left.
Three verses.
Three verses. So we've gone through four different versions of every verse of the Tao. So check that out. There's a playlist right here on the Brandon Bonanza YouTube channel. Check that out. And if you already have, thank you. But we've gone down, we broke down like
Breaking.
we've breaking it down every part of it, every word. We've looked up words, we've contrasted, so I think we have a better understanding of the Tao. And anytime you do something like that, anytime I feel like you go through, shout out to the Terrible podcast that I did with Ashley, my friend Ashley, and we went through and covered every single card and talked about it. And after that, I felt like it was an upgrade. It's kind of like, when you go to a college or something and take a course, but this is obviously, I feel like better for
Course
your
of
own
life.
understanding and learning, more personalized, because it's for you and what you want to do. Anywho, so I feel like we're coming to the end of that. We're getting this, diploma, if you will. So we're using not only all the knowledge that we've learned, but also our understanding of the Tao and just of the way things are now when we're going to take another look at the beginning. So it's kind of like we have different tools in our tool belt now. There's other concepts that we've learned. There's things that we have better understanding. There's even it's like when I go back through the Bhagavad Gita and read or listen to it and I have a different understanding just because of something I learned that had nothing to do with the Bhagavad Gita. I came across some things some patterns came together, so that's what we're going to be doing. We're really excited about it. We're really going to be broken it down again. It's going to be broken by the time we're done with it. We're going to have to return it to sender. It's going to be broken on down. So yeah, I'm
And
excited.
yet,
That's basically what I was saying. We're looking forward to using our new lenses to dig into this
mm,
stuff.
hey, Tony, welcome.
What's up, Tony? Coriol the Storm? Yeah, that's from Dune. He knows.
Yes. So,
The spice.
shall
Are you on spice right now, Tony? What's going on? All right, go
the
ahead, Sharon.
spice
I'm sorry. I'm gonna
of life.
turn this up. Yeah.
We read the quote of the day.
Oh yeah, let me pull it up. That's what we do on the show. Is that something new we're doing? No, we've done that since we've been. So I like the artwork that I just want to. I found this
Shout
cool
out your
picture of
artwork.
Van Gogh. I didn't make the picture with the sunglasses, but I did do all the coloring and put that triangle there. So yeah.
Nice. Well, as you can see on the screen, the quote says, I am always doing what I can't do yet in order to learn how to do it. That is by Vincent van Gogh, or maybe Van Gogh. I don't know, but everyone says go. So,
Vincent
but we'll
Van
go with that one.
Volk. Damn it. That was a great pun, and I missed it. No, that's good. I surround
Sorry
myself with good punners.
for my simple puns,
I don't,
everyone.
I don't know how to end this. What's my buttons aren't showing up. Thank you, Zoom. What's going on here? All right, we're just gonna do the rest of the podcast like this.
With
Let me try
this,
something else. This is
do you want to
funny.
shuffle
Well,
cards as you're
yeah,
looking
I
for
guess I
your
could
button?
shuffle cards. I just have to figure out because the
How to
normally there.
exit
Oh,
the
there it
screen?
is. It's way on the bottom. What is Zoom doing? Oh, I see. There we go. That was strange. Yeah, let me shuffle some cards up.
Welcome, Josh. Haven't seen him in the chat in a bit.
Welcome, Josh. I just want to
Yeah, I
turn.
love puns too. Puns are fun.
I just need to.
Punny
Sorry.
puns.
Punny pun pun. Output
Funny
volume.
puns. Honey pun fun.
No,
Sorry, I'm just.
don't be sorry. It's cool. Punny ton.
Mm.
All right.
So, what deck are you going to be pulling from today?
So today we have the
Lord of the
Lord of the
Rings.
Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien.
I also have my deck with me.
Yeah, all right. We're just gonna get this going. Put that there. Put this here. All right, so Lord of the Rings. I like it. I feel like Lord of the Rings is kind of the standard for fantasy, right? It's like the baseline, and I'm not saying it's the best one, but to me it's like, it's like Zoom, right? If you're thinking of video or Google, right? It's just and not in the ways that Google could be terrible, where it like wants to know your whole life. I'm just saying, as far as people know in the standard out there, like if you're gonna do a search engine, everyone's like, "Hey, Google it," like if you're
Yeah, it's
gonna,
like Kleenex and Xerox.
yes, brand awareness. And I feel like a lot of other like Wheel of Time, especially, there's a lot of little callbacks to Lord of the Rings, or there's little
Oh, interesting.
yeah, there's little nuggets in there like Easter eggs. Sometimes when in the way they name things. Actually, in Wheel of Time, one of the main, because there's different countries, it's so like it's not just a bunch of good people versus a bunch of the evil side. It's like, it's like today. If it's like trying to get the Trump supporters and the Kamala Harris supporters to fight like evil, to get them together to fight somebody. That's why I like it so much. It really is, because you're just like, guys, what are you fucking fighting about? But anywho, there's a country called Andor, which is cool because we all know that's where the Ewoks live in Return of the Jedi. So, uh,
Josh says is always good. It literally created the genre.
Lord of the Rings, yeah, it really did. And it's, what I like, because the reason I might like other fantasy series better is because they are just more, it's kind of like, all right, so of course you like Star Trek, right? So say if you're into sci-fi, you like Star Trek, like the original, you're into that stuff, right? But then you also might like Stargate, right? That show that came later. Well,
Yeah.
Star Trek is like the standard because I used to watch the old Star
Yeah.
Trek episodes a few years ago. I went through them all, and it's
Okay.
amazing. I would be watching some of the premises. I'm like, oh, it's like in that movie, and I'm like, oh no, wait, this Star Trek was in the '60s. It came way before that movie I was thinking about. So many ideas were expanded upon, and I feel like it's the same way. Is morality objective, draconian methods? We don't really make statements here, so we're not really sure. I guess it would depend on
We
what
ask
level you're
those kinds of
talking.
questions.
Yeah, you know what? A good answer for me would be like, are you talking about spiritually or physically? So in the physical realm, here right now, if I wanted to come steal your property, that would be immoral and wrong, and you would have the right to stop me. Uh, but if you were an outside observer watching, or you heard about the story, say, or whatever, you have a choice of how you can feel. You could feel kind of victimized by it, and you could be like, "Oh man, that guy, he got all fucked up. That sucks that he robbed that guy or whatever." Or you could think to
Or
yourself,
if you feel bad for the guy who got robbed or whatever.
"Yeah, exactly, right." You could feel bad and identify with him, you get upset and feel like a victim. Or you could say, "You know what? That sucks that happened, but maybe God has a plan for this, right?" And then in his plan, my iTunes just popped up. What is going on? I don't want to sign into iTunes, Apple. Oh man, it's like a death spiral. I'm just gonna get it off the screen. Anywho, so you see what's going on in the world, someone's getting robbed, and you could say, yeah, that sucks, but maybe God has a plan, right? And I can't understand it. Maybe spiritually they have to go through this, so then something they'll learn some lessons, how whatever. And when you're thinking that way, you're not a victim, and you're not saying the world is terrible. You're saying, well, maybe there is a purpose that I can't understand because it's a mystery, right? It's a mystery and that's where we talk about just accepting mystery. So if you ask me if morality is objective, I would say, not in the physical, because that's just crazy, because then you could just make up anything you want, right? Uh, I guess that depends on what you define as moral. Yes, Josh. But as far as like the spiritual, and that's really where the true, I would say, if there's any free will that we have that we could point to, it is in how we choose to feel what happens to us, or how we choose to view what's going on around us. Is it all terrible and horrible, and we wish we could change it all and make it better how we want it, or is it God's plan, and we're just like, man, that kind of sucks, but well, what can I do? Blah blah blah. And then we always say, instead of changing the world, really the only way to do it is to kind of work on yourself, and then by that working on yourself, you can make the world, you can be an example really to for other people, and maybe you can make the world a better place in that way. And that's the short answer to that. See, we answer questions here. Welcome, he said. Lol, thanks.
um,
Ooh.
it's funny that you've
Go
been
ahead.
talking about Lord of the Rings and Star Trek and all this stuff because more my internet connection says it's unstable.
Yeah, you're
Damn
breaking up
it.
a little bit. Just give it a second.
Let
It's all right. It
me
goes,
maybe let
it,
me just close
it
stuff.
ebbs and flows. Okay, I could talk while you do that.
Hmm.
Yes, I have
I was
been.
okay. Or am I stable? It's kind of right now.
Yeah, no,
Dang
you
it.
were, but then
Eh. All right. Go ahead. You talk. It's
eh.
not, apparently, it's not for me to talk
I was
today
just
that
gonna
much.
say, yeah, no, it's uh we're kind of talking about Lord of the Rings, so I could talk about that for a second. Victim narrative, right? And this is something we talked about before, but the difference between the books and the movies. Now, I think Peter Jackson did a great job. Visually, it's stunning, but there's a few, whoever wrote that screenplay, there's a few key differences. And one of them is Aragorn in the movie is like afraid, I don't know if I should be the king, and I don't know if I'm ready. But in the book, he's like, and then he's got his sword and he's like, I'm gonna be the king. And he just is like slaying people, and he's never afraid, or he never really feels like a victim. There are other things that he has to overcome. But I've noticed that a lot of the characters in different adaptations of the movies, especially Dune, it's the same way. And it's funny how there are these little key differences. You're like, well, why would you make, and I think it's because people in this society would probably relate to somebody better. And also, people that are going to watch Lord of the Rings are probably Star Wars fans. And it's the same thing with Luke. So if you write that in there, people are going to relate to it and they're going to remember. So it's probably just something as easy as that. But I feel like it's cool to be conscious of that stuff. So, anyway, let's see. Are you doing better over there?
You don't know. You tell me. How am I doing?
Yeah.
Am I not as choppy?
Your video's a little choppy, but I can hear your voice quite well. Oh, I just said that and then you froze. Yeah, la la. There you go. You're back. Nope, you're froze. You're back. This commercial is brought to you by Zoom, everybody. Zoom's actually pretty good. I can't complain. It's just the wonkiness of the internet. It happens to me sometimes here too. It's really weird. I think it ebbs and it flows, but usually this is a good time.
Well, what I wanted to say, if I may, because Michal, I forgot how to pronounce his name, MS, he was greeting us in Thai because his mom's currently visiting Thailand.
Ooh,
So I said, I hope that you didn't get hacked because he it's all in like Thai. So I was like, I don't know what that says. But anyway, he was giving us a beautiful greeting that means good afternoon, divine spirits. So it reminded me of the greeting that Ra does, and I wanted to use it. So Ra usually says, we greet you in the love and light of our infinite creator. So that's our greeting to you.
I love it. Well, speaking of that, oops,
Did
I
you finally
pulled.
pull your card? Sorry.
Yeah, no, no, don't be sorry. I pulled the moon. Here comes the moon, little darling. So if you see here, this is the mirror of Galadriel, I would say, and it looks like the moon is being represented as some sort of flower. I know it does say in the description. I can't remember exactly. Maybe it's a moonflower, right? Moonflowers only bloom in the moonlight. I know that the moon usually represents going within, right? And I'm really glad that we pulled this card because we could say this now at the beginning of the episode. All this stuff that we're talking about, the law of one, the Tao, all this stuff that we talk about, we don't talk about it so we could brag about our knowledge, or we don't talk about it so we could prove why we're right and we have the right way to look at things. We're not trying to debate anybody with this knowledge. Alls we're doing is trying to work on ourselves. Ha ha ha. That's the secret. So we're doing all this stuff because we want to make ourselves better, because we believe that by making ourselves better, we can make our lives better, or the people around us, and perhaps the world. Perhaps we can even the whole world, and maybe it'll spin even faster. Josh says the Satelloons are moving slow today. Yes, Josh, they are. Somebody get up there with a fan, get those things going. Sharon's, you were froze on your laughing face. It was great.
Damn it.
Um, a lot of
Should
people
I
I've
come
talked
in
to
and out
said,
while you're talking?
you froze a couple times, but just right then. Other than that, it was good. Moon
Okay.
Lily. Oh, Josh says Moon Lily. It could be that. I'll look it up. Yeah, you
Lily's
froze a
my
little.
middle
You're frozen
name.
again. Yeah, you were. Maybe if you, I don't
Should
know.
I dip out and come back?
Yeah, maybe you could try that, or even turn your video off for a little bit.
Okay.
And then it'll just be me. Hello, everybody. It's Sharon's here, but you can't see her. I'm full screen now. Look at that. Hang on. All right.
What happens if I talk? Does my little thing come up?
You know what? Let me look on the
I don't
YouTube
think it
channel and see what
does.
it's doing. I don't know. I think it's just, I don't know how to. All right.
Let me see. Let me come back.
Do 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 do. All right, everybody. I hope you guys are having a good time. We certainly are. So the moon card, the what I was talking about basically,
Yeah,
she's
sorry
gonna
for
go.
technical difficulty.
Yeah. There you go. So really I was talking about, and I'm glad this card came up. The reason I said all that was because we're looking at this stuff and we're breaking it down because we want to work on ourselves. And we also with the law of one, we kind of want to get a better idea of what this realm could be and why we are here and what are the reasons. And I feel like the law of one does it really well in a way that fits into our worldview. And we always look at everything kind of like you look at allegory. So we're going to look at this channel to work. I'm going to talk more about the card in a second, but we look at this channel to work as it is like kind of allegory and what they're saying. And we're like, oh, well, how can it fit in? Because again, it's a great mystery. And we're doing it to get some more self-knowledge because it's like as above, so below. So if you can realize how the realm works, you realize how you work better. Um, but the moon card does symbolize that. It symbolizes the light shining on all the shadow, right? At night, you got shadows. When it's a full moon, just look outside, observe the shadows. It's really crazy. It's like if you watch the moon rise, it's almost like a sunrise. You could see the shadows of the trees and everything. So what happens with the shadow and allegorically and symbolically, what it represents is the behavior that you engage in that you're not proud of, or the desires that you have, or the inklings or the habits or whatever. So you try to push them away and you try to pretend it's not yours. But then what happens? Everything goes in cycles and you have a full moon. So it doesn't even mean that there's really a full moon in the sky. It could just be a cycle that happens to you when your behavior starts to get highlighted. Like you can't hide it as much with your escapism that you decide to engage in. It's just not working as much anymore. You got to go more. You got to go bigger. You got to jump out of the airplane without a parachute and fly over to somebody and put the parachute on in the air and then pull it off to get enough adrenaline to try to escape your shadow. So a lot of times what happens is people hit a rock bottom, and this is kind of, you know, what starts it really, the moon. So it could be a scary card for people, but with what we're talking about, I think people would agree that it doesn't have to be that scary. It's just about overcoming and really just accepting parts of yourselves, realizing that you're perfect. And that's what we're going to talk about. So to me, that's what the moon card means. I'm going to see if Sharon is texting me or anything. Let's see. Nope, no text. So she should be coming back in here. Let me see what's going on in the chat. How are you guys doing? Let's see. I'm gonna dip out and come back, she said. All right. So she should be back shortly. I'll be back short. That's wow, that's hilarious. I said she should be back shortly, and then it popped up in the chat. What a synchronicity. Um, you know what I can do too? Let's see. I'm gonna bring up quote because I feel like I didn't really talk about it that much. I'm always doing what I can't do yet in order to learn how to do it. So I feel like this is what we do here on the show a lot of times. We're talking about these concepts that we don't fully understand. So like I said a little earlier, we're not talking about this stuff to break it down to get a better understanding so we can debate it and so we could um what's the right phrase? It's what people do in in certain belief systems. They try to go out and proselytize and like, be evangelists and try to convert everybody and try to prove to everyone else that their way is the way. And it seems to me that sometimes when that happens, or a lot of times, it's because the people unconsciously don't really believe it. So they're trying to convince other people, or they might have some questions. So the more people they can convince, they're like, oh, well, if these people believe it, then it must be right. It's kind of one of those things. So um, we don't really do it that way on the show. That's not that's not why we're breaking all this stuff down. It's more, like I said, about getting to know yourself and working on yourself. And that's really the main focus of this show. So I'm excited today, though, to talk about the law of one. Let's see. Yeah, we didn't talk about the quote. I know it's funny, right? I don't know what happened. I think we got sidetracked, which easily happens. We sometimes get sidetracked on the show. So, but when Sharon gets back here, we are going to read some of the introduction to the Law of One, and we also found another text that's similar in what it talks about. So I'm excited to dive into that and get an idea. And now I could talk about channeled works too, because this is something we've talked about on other shows, but not specifically, obviously, on this show yet, which is, I mean, we talked a little bit about how we view channeled work as allegory. And really, the way we see it is everybody has their own unique worldview, their own way that they see the world, right? So we feel that when people are channeling, the channeling comes through that worldview. Now, even if it's something, a higher entity that they're talking to, someone from the beyond, God, him, or God herself that they're channeling or talking to, or whoever, whatever entity, we feel like this entity can't really tell people something that it doesn't know. It can't, it can't reveal mysteries that the person isn't ready for yet. Like say a good example would be like the entity, here comes Sharon. The entity can't be what we call woke raping people, whereas like the entity won't be like, hey, uh JFK wasn't really shot by Lee Harvey Oswald. It was a conspiracy. The entity isn't going to do that. The entity is just going to give information to the person in a way that they can understand it. So not that the reason I brought all that up was because while we're reading through this, there might be things that we don't exactly agree with. We might not view the realm in the same way that some people did, especially back then or whatever. We have kind of a different comprehension of where we are. But it doesn't mean we say that they're wrong. It's because that's how they understand how it is. So that's why we try to distill their message and take the truth out of it because we feel like there's always nuggets and kernels of truth in there that are being passed, and that's basically what we're going to be doing. So, hello, Sharon.
Hello. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can. I can.
Okay. Well, hopefully I helped a little. I'm gonna close some things here. Close.
Close. I'm going to take my phone off the internet because I remember that I didn't do that yet. Oh no, maybe I did. Yep, it's off. It's off.
So pardon all the technical difficulties today.
Technical. It's cool though. I got a lot of the basics out of the way, kind of like how
Intro.
we view. You probably heard it, right? I don't know if you
Yeah,
were listening yet. All right,
listening in.
cool.
Yeah. So I guess uh without further ado, we could jump in. Ugh, it says my connection's not stable. Um,
Oh no,
we'll just have to keep doing. We'll just have to keep going with what we can
we'll power
here.
through.
Yeah.
All right.
Um, all right. I will share my screen. We're gonna read a little bit from this book called The Raw Contact. Um, kind of a little bit of a cleaned up version of the material that was transcribed. It was re-listened to after several years of having been channeled and written down. And the guys that re-listened to it found extra material that wasn't.
Transcribed.
There was stuff that they wanted.
Ah, you're breaking up again. Breaking up is hard to do.
They
But
were. Damn it! This
you
is
were
hard if I'm the one reading. So maybe you can. I'll just put it up and you can read it.
okay, yeah, because you were breaking up there toward the end. You were saying that they found some stuff that wasn't translated previously or transcribed.
Yeah, it was not transcribed because some of it was deemed like personal information, personal
Ah.
questions, like about themselves. And they were just like, this may not be useful for other people. So there was stuff
Ah, you broke up at there was stuff.
like
That's
that. And yeah. Um
you kind of broke up again, but you said So it was mostly personal stuff, but was there anything well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll just share, and Brandon, you're gonna have to read because not gonna be I'm gonna be breaking up. So
It's a good thing I like to talk. Me read? All right. Do 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 do. Okay, so this is the book, The Raw Contact, Teaching the Law of One, Volume One, and this is from the foreword. There has never been, nor can there ever be, a single unproblematic definition of what it means to seek the truth. The pathways to knowledge and to human perception are as numerous as the stars, and as resistant to synoptic characterization, if one may, if one may speak, therefore, of a unity of truth, a one truth, one must have opened a gateway to a way of relating to this problem that transcends all known limitations, and in fact leaves behind all readily delineated requirements of knowledge itself. From any point of view achievable to experience, such a gateway can only be hard won, and to win one's way to assimilation and integration of such experience is surely that much harder. So basically, in easy English, he's saying that, yeah, you could see a truth. Is there really one truth? But you really have to, like, open your mind to transcending all known limitations. Like, you really can't have a limitation. So it's funny because it goes back to what they were asking, to what Draconian asked earlier about relative truth and stuff. Well, it's like, well, here's a little bit of an answer for you. You might think you're seeing truth, but your own limitations are actually keeping you from seeing a clearer truth. So you can glean some truth, but to get a full, more of an understanding, you might have to open up yourself more, you know? Can you hear me? Maybe if you can you talk
I
now?
I can talk. Can I took my video off, but can you
Oh
hear
yeah,
me?
this is perfect. You're not breaking up now. It's probably the video.
Maybe it's the video. Okay. Well, then I'll just keep the video off. Where did you leave off?
I
Sorry, I
just read the
was.
first paragraph
Oh, okay.
and I kind of summed it up a little.
Okay.
You want to read the next one?
Sure, I can read the next one. All right. It says, it is thus always something of a miracle, and in any case, certainly an inspiration, when the thick veil that surrounds our human consciousness thins even a little to afford the most fleeting glimpse of glory. And when there comes through that veil a finely constellated light so bright that it positively penetrates in discreetly articulated points the entire fog of incarnate existence. This is very poetic.
Yeah.
That is an occasion worthy of the utmost attention. To a growing number of seekers of the way, the raw contact is just such a light.
I'll read the next one.
Okay.
To be sure, the communications contained in this work have a cultural genre into which they have long since been fitted. They belong to the category of channeled communication. There is indeed a good supply of channeled material already available to the seeker of truth, and more discerning seekers have long since realized that a great deal of careful discrimination is required when surveying what is on offer. And yes, this is exactly what we're talking about. You have to use your own discretion here when you're reading this stuff. This isn't God said, and this is what you must
Right.
do. Right? No, this is all right. Let's see what we're really trying to say. Yet to report only on my own experience, the raw contact stands alone in this genre as a source that has stood every test I have been able to put to it. In terms of the scope, in terms of consistency, in terms of depth, and in terms of inexhaustibility, it is without parallel and without peer. But all of these judgments are merely evaluations from one
Reader,
reader. Each of us must read our own conclusions.
reach.
Bingo. Let me therefore simply commend to you the text conveying to any earnest reader my sincere blessings. All right. Yeah, that's exactly what we were saying, and I was saying, you gotta kind of be discerning when you look at this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This is when you want to, everybody likes to judge all day, every day. Well, use discernment, which is just like judgment,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see what works for you or how it makes sense, really.
All right, shall I read the next chapter? I mean, verse? I mean,
Yeah.
paragraph.
Yes.
Viewed from the outside, the gatherings of those whose interest in the law of one is deep and abiding are somewhat remarkable. Hardly anywhere else does one find scientists, engineers, philosophers, poets, mystics, economists, farmers, and office managers collected into one seeking and able to
Oh,
find or
I think you
that
broke up
speaks to a all right, keep reading. You keep reading.
after collected into. I think it broke up a little bit.
All right, you keep reading then.
All right. Where were we? I was listening.
Oh, collected
Oh,
into one
collected
circle.
into one circle of seeking and able to find common ground in what is brought forward. That speaks to a multivalence of the material that is quite striking. I know of no other way to enter into this multivalence than a careful reading of the text, pondering one after another so many terms of phrase that offer openings onto a cosmic landscape that is staggering in its scope, even while at the same time they give clues to possibilities for further exploration. Yeah, so hang on, I'm just gonna take a sip of coffee here.
I think that word is multivalence, but I'm not exactly.
Multivalence. Oh, did I say
I mean,
what did I say? Valence?
valence? I
Oh,
don't,
multivalent.
not sure.
Multivalence. That speaks of a mul I maybe we should look that word up.
Yeah, let me see.
Interesting. But again, he's talking about, you know, he's kind of like pointing the way to the way, it's hard, it's a hard thing to do.
Okay, so multivalence, and I haven't looked at the pronunciation yet, but um, it is the quality, state, or degree of a. Okay, but that's too much. It is the quality or state of having many values, meanings, or appeals. Many
Oh,
values.
yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
And he's saying, he knows of no other way to enter into this. So if you want to get all the values out of it, you have to do a careful reading, ponder it, check it out, get in and read it. What's it make sense? Listen to the Over Sharon show breakdown of it. You got to do all these things.
Dude, I had it totally wrong. It's multivalence. I
Ooh,
would never have guessed.
multivalence. I
Yeah.
like it. That speaks to a multivalence. I'm going to read it again. That speaks to a multivalence of material that is quite striking. I know of no other way to enter into this multival. I know of no other way to enter into this multivalence than a careful reading of the text. All right. Yeah, that's cool. I just I got a little ahead of myself there.
Actually, British say multivalent.
Oh,
All right, whatever. It is what it is.
it is what it is. So it's
How do
multivalence.
I'm still getting the message of my internet connection being unstable. So I'll just let you keep reading.
All right. Multivalence. That does multivalence. It sounds like that's how the British would say it. It's funny that they say it differently.
Yeah.
Um, The story of these three brave adventurers whose collective efforts made this communication possible is itself a narrative well worth hearing. This narrative is told in considerable detail and with a complete and with as complete a fidelity to the actual truth of events as I have ever encountered in Gary L. Bean's Tilting the Windmills. The story, it must be admitted, is genuinely poignant. One learns that an undertaking of the kind that an undertaking of the kind necessary to bring forth the law of one was not without cost, and that the cost was indeed great for all concerned. I therefore wish to conclude this brief preface by expressing my gratitude to those intrepid travelers who have gone before me and who have played a decisive role in opening a clearing filled with love and light. It is a clearing in which I have learned to stand with others of like mind, like spirit, and like commitment to seeking that truth which beckons ever from a place just beyond the reach of the grasping mind, but not at all remote from the open heart. Whoa, yeah. 10/10/2016. Stephen Timon, PhD, Murfreesboro, Illinois. Illinois.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. That's
Ten
one day
ten.
after my born day. Um,
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Whoa.
you said tilting something windmills. It's tilting at windmills.
I
And
said tilting the windmills, tilting at
yeah,
windmills.
it is a reference to Don Quixote, the book, which I've never read, but I was wondering why they called it that, so I looked it up. Mind you, I haven't read the book, but it's available, I'm pretty sure, on their website, and you can read it. I'm going to stretch this a little bit because I see like when we're on the camera that we end up not seeing some of the text. So it'll
Oh.
help if I stretch it a little bit.
New, 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 new. The part about windmills reminds me, Josh says, people used to believe windmills were giant monsters, and there's got to be something more to that. Yeah. I watched a movie yesterday that literally said that part that Sharon was reading. Oh, what part, Josh?
Yeah, I can't remember what part it was. I think I must have been, I think I was reading this part here. Didn't I read the second paragraph?
Yeah. How?
Anyway, should I make the text just a little bit bigger, maybe?
Yeah, yeah, if you could do that for shizzle. This is so
Yeah,
silly.
so then it must have been the second paragraph. Um, all right, sorry, we were over here. All right, so the next bit is acknowledgments. We're going to skip through that and we're going to read this part. Unless, Brandon, there's anything else you wanted to say.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I just am getting this. All right, cool. Oh yeah, I gotta go back to that. All right, I was on the wrong. All right. How these books came to be. Beginning in the fall of 2004, Toby Wheelock commenced what would come to be called the re-listening project. All right. As the name implies, he, along with the help of volunteers, methodically re-listened to the original recordings of the 106 sessions of the contact with Ra 3 times over the course of 8 years. From this effort emerged a brand new transcript that would become the basis of this book. After completing the project in March of 2012, Toby wrote the re-listening report, meticulously cataloging the many changes to the text and sharing something of his journey and the great effort that would produce what he called the re-listened and the lightly edited versions. The former is an exact transcript of what is on the audio, all syllables and sounds included. The latter is a lightly edited version of the same. The re-listened and lightly edited versions are not deviant, not derivative of or based upon the original 5 published books. Instead, they are entirely new manuscripts taken directly from the source material, i.e., the audio tapes. Oh, all right, cool. The text of the Raw Contact book comes directly from the lightly edited versions. Therefore, the great majority of the changes to the re-listened and lightly edited versions, itemized in the re-listening report, have been carried into this book. However, additional refinements were made to the text for the raw contact. Oh, okay. Consequently, the reader may discover slight discrepancies between the changes cataloged in the report and the material as it appears in this book. So basically, he's just telling you it's, pretty much the real deal. There's just a couple little things or whatever. The raw contact is meant to serve as a continuation of the lightly edited project, and in that regard, is its mission is to provide as best as possible an exact transcript of the actual audio with minor, mostly grammatical edits in order to improve readability. The two volumes of the raw contact neither negate nor supersede the original five published books. Both sets will continue to be offered side by side for the reader to choose their form of reading, each having its own merits. You may read Toby's re-listening report at the end of this book, along with an addendum summarizing our additional refinements. His website, law1.info, is the single best sturdy tool for this work. We extend our infinite, heartfelt gratitude to Toby for his singular dedication to this project and opening the way to this book. Thank you, Toby. Um,
Sorry about that. I hit the buttons too quickly.
no worries.
All
Yeah.
right. So that's kind of the how the books came to be. And this is like an intro to like now it's the intro to the topics to the law of one, the information. So
All
how's
right.
my sound?
You're doing well for the sound. You want to exit out for a second? I just want to say something about
Yeah,
what
yeah,
we've
yeah.
read so far. And really, what I want to do is kind of give, like he was saying, give a shout out to these people who, you know, took took this undertaking. These people that decided to uh, produce this and channel raw and all that stuff. I'm trying to get a button back on my keyboard. There we go. Okay. Oh, and it worked. Um, I think that it takes a lot out of you. It probably took a lot of their life force or whatever, So I would imagine that their lives might be shorter because of this stuff. And the accounts that I read and stuff, it was pretty taxing on the people, everybody involved. So, we should definitely give our thanks, our gratitude to these people for doing
Yeah.
this. And now we could kind of just break it down on YouTube real easy and complain about YouTube, which is free. We don't
Can
even
you
have to go into a trance. But yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Um, sorry, I was trying to do video, but I guess it's just too much. It's too taxing again. Um, but I was gonna say that yeah, two of them have already passed on. So there's only one of them left, Jim McCarty. But we'll read about I think we'll end up reading about them in this intro. And it'll be interesting. So keep your ears peeled.
Yes. Okay.
Shall I reshare or is there anything else you wanted to say?
Nope, that's all I wanted to. Let's do it. All right, everybody. Here we go. From January 15th, 1981. So I was four, going to be five, through March 15th, 1984. Three dedicated seekers of truth received the spoken communication in this book. The messages, as you will discover, came from a civilization of extraterrestrial beings who identified themselves as Ra. The Ra contact, teaching the law of one, contains the whole rectified and now unified record of this 3-year period of contact with Ra. This introduction does not intend to thoroughly explain the contact or its philosophy. The purpose of this section is simply to offer the reader a little context regarding how this contact happened, some background about the source with whom Don Elkins, Carla Ruckert, and Jim McCarty were communicating, and a thumbnail sketch of what this source says about metaphysical reality. This introduction is not essential to reading and understanding this book. It is offered as a means of orientation and preparation for the journey to come. I like it.
May I say something real
Yes.
quick? You asked me in one of the episodes we did previously, we forgot to mention because we were so distracted with the technical piece. We have a playlist that this is going into, so you can check those out. Those are some episodes we've done that talk about the Law of One,
Your voice is breaking
and
up now.
actually we love
You're breaking up again. Just toward the end though.
lovely, lovely. Um,
You're good now.
so her name in the audiobook is Ruckert. So I don't,
Oh,
I Ruckert. So
Ruckert. All right, that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, make sure you guys check out that
All right, I'll mute myself again.
playlist, everybody. Check it out. The Law of One playlist on the Brandon Bonanza channel, the Oversharing Law of One playlist, because we do read from Law of One and break it down and talk about more in depth. So if you are interested and you like this, definitely go check that out. There's more nuggets in there. So yes. All right. Want me to read?
Sure.
Oh, Ra. In ancient history, Ra is known as the Egyptian god of the sun. They state, however, that when they visited the Egyptians, they came as brothers and sisters, not as gods. They came because that civilization had developed a culture and a belief system that prepared them to comprehend the concepts of the Law of One. This readiness for the Law of One drew those of Ra to them to serve as teachers of these principles. Ra reports that their efforts to aid that particular culture were misunderstood and distorted. The Egyptians, particularly the royal elite, who reserved the message only for themselves, robbed the message of its inherent compassion, distorting the philosophy of the oneness of all things. Ra consequently removed themselves from the Egyptian experience, but they continued from then until now to observe Earth's development from a distance. It was Ra's long-standing desire to correct the distortions introduced to the Law of One during the time period that led them to make contact with our group. But that was not their only reason. Ra also made contact with our group because Earth is nearing the end of a 75,000-year master cycle of evolution, and many of its population are ready to graduate to the next extraordinary stage, what Ra calls the fourth density, the density of love and
Evolutionary,
I'm sorry.
evolutionary stage.
Oh yeah, all right. Graduate to the next evolutionary stage, what Ra calls the fourth density, the density of love and understanding. They wish to be of aid in this time of transition, and thus responded to the call for service issuing forth from this planet. Ra said that they are from the sixth density, and they are, in their words, a social memory complex. This is what the planetary population becomes in the density of evolution beyond our own. In this arrangement, the thoughts, memories, and experiences of every individual are known and available to the whole group. The entire social body then consists of many unique individuals who also have access to a shared group repository of memory and identity. And, so you could believe all this stuff exactly how they say it, or like we said earlier, you could kind of look at it allegorically. You could filter through the nuggets that make sense. So if they say like 75,000 years, maybe it's because the people who were channeling him had a different view of this realm and they were more into the materialistic realm of evolution and Big Bang and all this stuff. So it had to come to them, and it just meant a long period of time. So Rob was just like, yeah, 75,000 years, man, not saying he's lying to them, but he's just fitting the truth that they can handle into their frame of reference. So he doesn't quote unquote woke rape them in a way.
Yeah,
Or maybe we're wrong, but that's kind of how we look at it, and that's how we fit it into our worldview. Anyhow, go ahead, Sharon.
I was listening to some of the stuff we did and it talked about in the previous episodes about the Law of One. And I remember us talking about that part where the numbers that they give, they even say they're approximations, and they, so, take it with a grain of salt, basically, is what we were saying.
Yeah, because what is, you know, sixth density social memory complex where every individual has access to every other individual's memories, thoughts, so they're all connected in this. So what are they saying? It's like a telepathic society, right? That is in
Yeah.
a different state of consciousness, and who knows if they're even physical. So what the hell is a year to them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and
fuck.
that was the thing too. They they also admitted to not knowing everything. They were like, we don't know everything, but we do know each other's. I think there was like millions of them in this raw consciousness, the social memory
Yeah.
complex of raw. So they all shared their past experiences and their memories and all that with each other. So that's the space from where they answer questions, I'm assuming.
Imagine, a kid comes up to you and he's trying to ask you questions about what it's like to be an adult. And you're like trying to talk to him and you're using these words and he's just not quite understanding. So you have to
Yeah,
put it in a way that he understands. Now that's just
exactly.
kind of like a little bit of a, simile or whatever. What's the word? Yeah.
Yeah, metaphor, example.
Yeah, metaphor. That's just a little bit now. We're talking about different consciousnesses and they have to try to, they have like a translation book, like they're in Europe and they're trying to like order French fries and they're like, what's a year? Oh man, I remember what those were. You remember? Were those, they seem like they went by fast. Just like 75,000. That sounds right. Okay. So, like,
Yeah.
so anywho, I just wanted to say that because, planets and all this stuff, everybody has a different worldview. A lot of people think we're on a planet. Some people think it's flat. Some people think it's a simulation. Some people think it's a spiritual realm. And we just want to
Well,
speak to all those people.
yeah, and the thing was too, when we were talking about planet on previous episodes of Law of One, we recalled that the word planète is, I think it comes from French, which means small plane. So,
Yeah, like a baguette, a
yeah.
planet. Can I get a planet, please? A French planet? Yeah. And, who knows, though? And this is the thing. If you attach yourself to a group who has a way of a certain belief, but there's really no way to prove it. If somebody's been up there in space and seen it, then hey, I can't take anything away from them. But it's just like people who argue about what happens after you die.
Right.
You don't know. And it goes all back to what we're talking about the Tao. Those who know don't talk, those who talk don't know. It's that same thing. If you don't know, why talking? Or something like that, where the truth needs no defense. So, anywho, these are these mysterious concepts that we just like to leave as a mystery. What happens after you die, we don't know, but I'm sure it's going to be radical,
Mm.
totally radical.
Yeah, and just quickly, not to interrupt or interfere with the discussion at hand, but the book I've been reading, Far Journeys by Robert Monroe, who also wrote Journeys Out
Oh, you're
Body,
breaking up now. You
has
broke
been
up.
really instrumental. Just kind of meh. All right, I'll just I won't say anything. We're going to talk about that. So I will share my screen and let Brandon keep reading.
Reading it, reading it. All right, so I was. According to Ra, right? Yes, okay. According to Ra, the population of Earth will birth its own social memory complex after its graduation to the fourth density is complete. Just as individuals evolve over time, the social memory complex likewise evolves, transforming and becoming more unified as the lessons of each higher density of evolution are successfully grasped. To Ra, as a social memory complex, there is no distinction between an individual and the whole group. Thus, when we communicated with those of Ra, we spoke to one individualized entity of the social memory complex. Since everyone in this group accessed a shared mind, it was as if we were communicating with all 6.5 million entities of the Ra social memory complex. You know, it's funny because for some reason they only had 6.5 million people, but here on our Earth we got billions and billions of people. Anyway, all right.
That's funny.
What does that mean? I don't know. Maybe only certain groups go through at a time, so maybe there is really like a billion and like 6 million go six 6.6 million go through.
Yeah.
See, that makes sense. I can see 6 million because that's a number. I don't know. There's another place the $6 million
Oh.
man, was that it? There's another place they use that number 6 million. I can't remember what it was. Seems really like a high number, but I could see 6 million souls getting graduated. That's pretty cool. All right.
All
I
right.
just wanted to say something because you get these numbers that
I know.
reoccur. I wonder why. Are these? Wait a minute. No, no. Maybe these are the 6 million that died in the 40s, and they're speaking to us now. All right, everybody. All right, we're done with the joking. Ra is also part of a larger group called the Confederation of Planets in the service of the one infinite creator that consists of many other social memory complexes from other planets in our local portion of the Milky Way galaxy. According to Ra, members of the Confederation have been offering their services through channeling and other means to various individuals and groups around the world for some time. For 75 million years, their interaction with this planet stretching back into our deep prehistorical past. Oh, okay, I see. Our group has been in contact with assorted members of this confederation since we began in 1962. The Confederation's primary message has always been that we live in a universe of unity, that the world as we perceive it is an illusion, that we are here to learn how to give and receive love, and that meditation is one of the principal means of discovering the creator that exists in all of us. Whoa, that's huge.
Huge. Oops. Oh, I don't know why it does that.
Now again, maybe for them, meditation was the way that they all woke up and it was their tool that they put on a pedestal. So it came through that meditation is the best way. Does it mean that it is or it's not? It doesn't mean either of those. Maybe it will work for you. And I'm a fan of meditation. I know Sharon, like, we all like meditation, but maybe it's not for you. Maybe there's another way for you to get through. It's fine. We're not saying that you have to. So anyway, it's just another example of how worldviews could get into this. But I do like how they say that because I feel like in this society, for most people that are steeped in materialism and have this materialistic view, they don't even know that they have. It's like a blind spot. I think meditation is one of the best ways out of it. So, anywho, yes, in the course of this conversation, Ross certainly took responsibility for their perspective, but renounced any authority, indicating that what they had to share was their perspective only. Exactly. So it's how they see it, right? So it doesn't even mean it's true. Going back to that great question that we had at the beginning,
What is
about
true?
yeah, about subjective truth and whatever. All right, so what they described as a somewhat different slant upon the information, which is always and ever the same. So the information's always and ever the same, but the slant is different. Their slant is a little different, but you know. They wish not to be identified as the source of this information. Instead, they asked specifically that they We're going to switch the page. Be described as humble messengers of the law of one. In this statement, they acknowledge their limitations and honor their relationship to the one truth which transcends but includes every seeming portion of identity throughout the universe. We encourage the seeker not to remove the focus from the law of uh, from the from the one infinite source of love and light, of which we are all messengers, humble in knowing that we of ourselves are but the tiniest portion of the Creator, a small part of a magnificent entirety of infinite intelligence. Yeah, it sounds kind of
Indeed.
familiar, right? It sounds like a lot of other religions that I've heard about before.
Mm.
The law of one and its cosmology. This is how Ra describes the law of one. In truth, there is no right or wrong. There is no polarity, for all will be, as you would say, reconciled at some point in your dance through the mind, body, spirit complex, which you amuse yourself by distorting in various ways at this time. So much in that one run-on sentence.
Right,
No,
dude. I was going to say, some people might be triggered by this. In truth, there's no right or wrong.
I mean, and again, this
We
is
talked
this
about that too.
spiritual view. And what he's saying is from a godlike view, from a view of above, there really is no right and wrong. It's just a dance that's going on. You know, you were in a still pond, somebody threw a rock, now there's waves, and you're like, the waves are evil, but it's gonna come back. And they're like you said, no polarity. So there is no, it's all one thing. It's just with
Mhm.
our limited view that we have right now from this uh, lens that we perceive a physical illusion, we have this gift that we forgot was a gift, and a lot of us see it as a trials and tribulations. We see it as a curse, but we have this gift to see things in a unique way. And but what we do is we get attached to this way we see it, and we think that we know best, and we want everything to go the way we want it to go. And that's like the basis of most religions. That's what they're trying to tell you. Yes. All
Yep.
right. So, unless you have something to say, I don't.
No, I think I'll just refrain from talking. I'm clearly not supposed to talk today.
Those who know, this distortion is not in any case necessary. It is chosen by each of you. See, so it's not even you don't even. So what we're doing here, take us off this for one
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
I gotta talk. So
Yeah.
like it's saying what Buddhism is saying. You choose to suffer, right? It's not
Mm.
necessary for you to be the narrator. We could do it. It's cool. We learn a lot. We even create art because of it. We suffer from that suffering. We grow, we learn. It's a beautiful dance. I'm not saying we're not supposed to do it, but what they're saying is, hello, there's a point where you realize you don't have to play that game anymore. You're not here to play that game. You're here to just do your dharma, be you, be yourself, and not narrate it. Just kind of, you're really here, like it says, to learn how to love. And how do you learn how to love? To put yourself in uncomfortable situations and to remember that you're not the center of the universe. When something's going on and you're not excited about it, like it could be just as simple as going out to eat, and someone wants to go to a different restaurant. It's a good metaphor for this. And you're like, oh, I don't really, and it's something you could eat. It's not like you have a allergy or something. You just don't, you're like, I'm going out to eat tonight. I want to have Mexican. I'm all excited. Not you, Sharon. I'm just saying. And then the person that you're going to go, maybe it's a person you're dating or in a relationship with, they really want Thai food. They're like, I want to go eat some food from Thailand and eat Thai food. And you could say to yourself, you could go eat the Thai food and be upset about it and say, "Oh man, I really wanted Mexican. This sucks." Or you could just be like, "Isn't this great? I could go to a place and give people this paper stuff, or who uses cash? Or I could just use this little plastic thing and
Or this
use these
plastic card
credits that I earned
or
to get
my
a meal
phone.
prepared and brought to me. Like I don't even have to do anything." And it's what a
And
great time to be alive. And you could look at it that way. And that's really Could it be that's what we're here to do, to fix our view and stuff like that, you know? So,
Yeah, and you could say, I can go to Mexican another day. Like I can look forward to going to Mexican food another day.
you could even say maybe there was something at the Mexican place that I was going to eat that would make me sick today. They didn't realize that the tomatoes went bad, or I don't know, like whatever. So, maybe you dodged a bullet. You could have got hit by a bus on the way to the Mexican restaurant, like there are all these ways to look at it where you're not a victim. And that's what he's saying. You're choosing, right? That's what Rod's bringing back to this. Rod's saying you don't have to do that. Like, that's just a choice you make, but it's fine. It's all good, man, no matter what you do. I feel like you're getting like a parent, like, or even a grandparent, Ra. So it's better because we're in the third and they're like in the sixth. So it's like a parent or like a grandparent, right?
Yeah.
Someone who's been through it all is just like all loving, just loving life, happy. And they're just like, oh, don't worry about it. You ate those cookies you weren't supposed to, but it's all right. Just don't do it again. See, you get sick when you eat the cookies. See what happens? That's all. They're not like nagging you and all this stuff. They just kind of let you learn your own lessons, and they're just like a guide. And that's how I feel with this law of one, whereas some other, religions or spiritual guides or whatever way of doing things and looking at the universe, it seems, especially like Christianity and things, seems like there's a person that you have to worship, and then they tell you that you're bad or you're good. So it's a much different lens or much different approach to spirituality, I could say.
Yeah,
Anywho,
indeed. You ready to read?
uh-huh, I'm ready. I'm gonna take a sip of my coffee and let's do it. Yeah.
So did you read this whole little bit here?
No, I think
Oh
I
no, you
got to
only
the
got it
yeah,
is
I'll read through
chosen.
more, yeah.
It is chosen by each of you, right?
Yeah, it is chosen by each of you as an alternative to understanding the complete unity of thought which binds all things. So he's just saying that this is you're choosing this understanding, but a lot of times it's not like a conscious decision. It's really only the only way we can look at it and comprehend it. It's like we don't know what we're looking at, so this is how we choose be mostly through fear. We're afraid of what we see, perhaps. So this is how we choose to see it. So really what he's saying is you're being a victim and you're choosing. It's all a choice. I see a lot of choices, that nothing's being imposed on you. Okay, so I'm going to start reading again. You are not speaking of similar or somewhat like entities or things. You are everything, every being, every emotion, every event, every situation. You are unity. You are infinity. You are love slash light, light slash love. This is the law of one. You are.
You
Yes, this is the
are.
law of
Yeah.
one. In this book, Ra brings us face to face with the same basic truth that has been reported by mystics from all quarters of the world throughout the ages. The
Weren't we just there?
astounding, yeah, that's what we're just saying, right? The astounding realization that the one infinite creator is within us and is within everything everywhere, in fact, is within everything everywhere. In fact, the law of one asserts there is nothing that is not the creator. There is nothing that is outside of this underlying unity. Ra reports that the creator has made the infinite creation out of itself for the purpose of knowing and experiencing itself. Wait, does that mean that Aleister Crowley is part of him too? This
Yes.
intelligent infinity, as Ra calls it, generates out of its own being the galaxies, stars, planets, entities such as ourselves, darkness and light, love and fear, every shade of meaning and experience, every mode of thought and activity, and everything else, real and imagined, on every plane of existence. And it has endowed each and every seeming portion of this creation with a foundation of free will, the capacity to learn, to grow, to intend, to adapt, to make evolutionary choices, to chart a return path of experience to the Creator. I like that, to chart a return path of experience to the Creator.
Yes.
So, what does that
Yes.
mean? We might have to do something like this again. So, we're charting a path right now. we're freaking out. We hate that we want to get to the next. You could take this off for a second. I'm gonna freak out. No. Everybody wants to get to the next stage. We all want to go to the next thing. We want to be sucked up by aliens. We want to drink the Kool-Aid and go to the comet. We don't want to be here. But what is right here? Here is the exploration. We're charting the way. We're little
Yeah.
Magellans and Cortezes and Columbuses, if those are, whatever. Pick your favorite explorer. We're Leif Erikson's, charting this because we have no idea what it really is. But you know what we're doing? We're fucking pretending we know it all. We're just like, this is great, man. We know it all. If you pray, we'll be fucking great. We'll go to heaven. It's fine. We could just do whatever we want. And again, that's okay. You could do that because that's how you get the knowing. That is an initial knowing. Even that it's the same thing when you think you're not on your path and you're
Hmm.
lost, and then you do the work and you realize that you've been on the path the whole time, right?
Hmm.
So when you're out there doing these base things and you're engaging in sin and all this stuff, you are just feeling your way around. But then there's another layer to it, right? You realize that it's not a trap. It's not something that's being imposed on you. You're actually here to have a good time. Could it be party on, explore, so we are on the Starship Enterprise, right? We're boldly going where no person has gone, where no man or woman has gone before. But what are we doing? Or what are most of us doing? We're on the holodeck, trying to experience something else. So the holodeck, for those who don't know, Star Wars: The Next Generation was a place you can go and it would recreate like old times, like it would recreate like cowboy times, and you can go and like live a simulation, right? And so they would do it for recreation, and then there was always several adventures where it would like short circuit and they'd get stuck in like cowboy times. Anyway, but so think about it. You're this space explorer. You're on the Starship Enterprise in an uncharted universe. And what are you doing? You're in the holodeck all day, reliving shit and stuff that could be possible, making your own desires come true. And what are you not doing? Looking out at uncharted star space and checking out new green chicks and aliens and like things. So I feel like if you could just realize that's what we're doing, we're on the cutting edge. All this stuff that's happening out there has never happened before, probably, or that's how we feel. It's never, yeah, maybe it has, but from our perspective, it hasn't. So go experience it, right? Learn how to love despite all the craziness that's going on. Learn how to love the craziness. Learn how to love the world. Could it be that's what we're here for? Or you could just go to the holodeck and what all that is engage in escapism. The past, the future, you're on the Starship Enterprise. You got Gordy or you got Data you could go talk to. But no, you're in the holodeck, reliving your childhood, and you're afraid to look out at the stars. Anyway, that's my best metaphor of the day. That's kind of what I feel like he's saying. You are the explorer. Like
Yeah.
to bring it back to Lord of the Rings, the men of Numenor, of the men of Westoness, they forgot that death is a gift. Death is their
Mm,
way out at the
mm,
end. Not that they're going to kill
hmm.
themselves, but they have a nice long life. They don't fear death. They live for hundreds of years, the men of the Dunedain, and then they escape the realm after they die. And it was great, but after hundreds and thousands of years, they forgot this because of fear and attachments, right? So it's the same thing that's happened to us in this materialistic
Mm,
society because what else would happen to a people that lost their way and got a lot of fear? They'd become materialists. They want to live for
mm,
what's now. They want to
hmm.
gather as much things as they can to make themselves feel secure, right? Because they are trying to take their minds off of what's going to happen next because it's fearful. All right, I feel like I'm
Mm.
preaching here. Did you get all that,
Preaching,
everybody?
preaching to yourself
Yeah, I totally am. All right.
and the choir.
Where were we now? I totally.
I don't remember. Where did you end?
Oh, la, 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 la. Search that there's nothing there. Yes. Okay. Yes. 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 As we travel. Oh yeah, free will. So we didn't read that. Ra calls it. Ra reports that the creator has made the infinite creation out of itself for the purpose of knowing and experiencing itself. Okay. This intelligent infinity, as Ra calls it, generates out of its own being the galaxy stars. All right, I think I read that. Darkness and light. Yep, yep. Every shade of meaning and experience. So everything we experience is all God, right? It's all here for us to do. All down to imagine in every plane of existence. Okay. And it has
Oh, yes,
in
we read that. To
oh,
chart
we
a
have,
path.
okay,
Yeah.
free will.
So I think
So
you were here.
okay, as we travel on our spiritual journeys, we exercise free will, choosing to gradually know ourselves more clearly. And sooner or later, we grow into unity with the one creator. I like that because, we're talking about free will and it sounds like what we talk about, right? And what he's saying is we exercise free will, choosing to gradually know ourselves more clearly, right? And
Hmm.
that's the free will. We choose to know ourselves. We choose to give ourselves the self-love.
Yeah, that's the know thyself part, from the
Yeah.
Delphic Oracle, Oracle of Delphi.
Yeah, 100%. And there's the whole thing that we talk about with the only true free will is to choose how you feel about something, right? So it's the same kind of vein. You exercise on your spiritual journey. The spiritual free will is to gradually know yourselves more clearly, which is to really accept yourself and see yourself as perfect. And as you do, as above, so below, then you can start to see the world as perfect. And then you could rewind and listen to what I just said because it's exactly what I'm talking about. Bring it back, like Ice Cube. What's he say at the end of that verse? He's like, rewind my part, fool. At the end, he says it or something.
Oh my Lord.
I'm the Ice Cube of
All right, I think
spiritual
you were right here.
podcasting. Wait, no, go ahead. Yes, sooner or later we grow into unity with one creator as all of the infinity of flip the page in
Entities.
entities and the infinite creation travel this path. The one creator comes to know itself in ways that are unimaginable and endless through every free will choice that is ever made by each portion of the creation. The journey that each soul takes, according to Ra, moves through an infinite system of octaves, each octave divided into seven ascending densities or concentrations of light. In the first density of our current octave, fire and wind teach earth and water to be formed in such a way as to produce the foundation for subsequent biological life. In the second density is the level of consciousness inhabited by bacteria and single-celled organisms. In the lower stages to plants and animals in the higher stages. This density's lessons involve transforming from the random change of first density to a more coherent awareness that facilitates growth and directed movement. As entities progress through the second density, they begin to strive toward the next density of self-consciousness. And as the spirit of complex becomes awakened, graduation to the third density becomes possible. All right. Yeah, so that's kind of what it's talking about to be in a man or woman consciousness, right? You come to this third density after the consciousness of plant and animal. And I like this because it really falls into line with what you see out in material realm with why a lot of these ideas like evolution stick with people because it's the same, it's so close. It's just a little bit of an inversion. And now we're talking about just consciousness and itself. Now, what does that mean exactly? Does that mean that we used to be plants and we evolved the way that we you hear according to Charles Darwin and all that stuff? I don't know, maybe,
Probably
but
not.
probably not. But because there really is no evidence for that. But the consciousness thing, it makes total sense. And what is consciousness? Consciousness really technically, at the end of the day, is everything. This is even part of our consciousness. Like, it's not just
Yeah,
inside the way we perceive things. Could it be that everything is internal? So everything is consciousness. So the consciousness that we are, perhaps it was at one time, it was a plant in a way that we can't fully understand, right? Come here, kitty. Perhaps this kitty
yeah,
right here in the second density is trying to, give me a message of love. It's like you have to love me to get to the next level. Uh, yeah, so I wanted to say that anyway. That's why I wanted to kind
yeah.
of break out. was to talk about these ideas and how they relate to ideas you see in the physical or ideas that could be called materialistic, like evolution and Big Bang and stuff like that.
Yep. I tr
Yippers.
I tried to talk, but it just cut me off, so I will share the screen again.
Sharon's like the producer today. All right, I'm just gonna come here, kitty. Okay, so
Did you did
this
you,
journey.
you read this part here?
Yeah, yep, becomes awakened. Yes. Okay. Earth and its human population are currently approaching the end of the third density cycle, according to the Confederation. In this third density, the density of choice, we have a more highly developed self-awareness that includes the mind, the body, and for the first time, a fully activated spirit. The function of this density is to polarize our consciousness and to choose our form of love, our form of service. On one end of the spectrum of the polarization, it is service to self. So these are the two delineations, right? Delineate or whatever. You get the service to self, an exclusive love of self, which rejects universal love and seeks to control, manipulate, exploit, and even enslave others for the benefit of the self. On the other end of the spectrum is service to others. A love of not only the self, but of all other selves. Service to others seeks to embrace, service to others seeks and embraces universal, unconditional love. Sees the creator in all things and supports the free will of all. So it reminds you of the golden rule here, kind of, you know. Uh, Our lived lives are not so black and white. However, as we strive toward either end of the spectrum of polarity and consciousness. Oh, yeah, I read that wrong. Let me do that again. Our lived lives are not so black and white, however, as we strive toward either end of the spectrum of polarity and consciousness. And there's no judgment here, right? It's just like you could do either one. In congruency with the various wisdom traditions of Earth, Ra communicates that we are moving toward a new age, or what Ra would call a harvest to the fourth density of love and understanding. This is where the social memory complex is born, where thoughts become things, love become visible, and the positive and negative polarities separate from each other. Oh, I was going to say each other. To inhabit environments more suited to their respective and divergent course of evolution. The fifth density is the density of light, wherein wisdom becomes the focus and criteria for graduation to the next density. The sixth density balances and unifies the love learned in fourth density with the light, wisdom learned in fifth density, and produces a power to serve others that is more effective than that of love or wisdom alone. Wow. The seventh density reaches a realm of experience even more difficult to describe according to Ra in the density of foreverness. And here we begin to move into total harmony with the one creator. The eighth density represents the complete coalescence of all of the creation with the one creator and can be viewed as first density of a new octave. Interesting. So the first density, we talk about we're in the third, right? So when we were, our consciousness was in the first, and it is technically still in the first too, because it's everything, right? But as we experienced it, I guess in the first, or consciousnesses that are in the first density, that are in our octave, are also at the top of another density. So they're like uh, a high school senior slash college freshman all in one, right? Like, so they're new to college, but they're also the big fish from where they're from. So it's interesting to think about what could have been before all this, right? And then also what he said about the right to choose and to actually have free will. So because everybody wants to get to the next thing, but the next thing you don't get free will. So maybe you're gonna miss this realm and be like, oh, I wish I had more fun while I was there, right? So I would say just just party on, have a good time, just enjoy it while you're here. I think really that is another key tenet, not also of a lot of religions. This message is not also like the golden rule type stuff, or what Buddha says, you choose your own suffering, but also to be present and to enjoy it while you're here, to know that it is temporary and fleeting, to not have fear and to just accept it for what it is. And maybe that's how you get to the next level, because I feel like that's what pulls us back. Our attachments are, and really our attachments are just us feeling like there's something wrong with something and it has to be a different way. So we're attached to the way we want it to be instead of the way it is. And I think when you cut all those attachments, that's when you just go up to the next realm. But in order to do that, you have to be okay with being here. It's funny, right? It's like you're stuck and you can't figure out how to get out. But getting out is just realizing that you're not really stuck. What do you think? Oh yeah, like keys of piano, exactly. It's the same thing. The octaves and the I don't really know a lot about pianos and sound octaves myself, just so you guys know. But it's very similar to that. So as it's like a 10. A 10 is a 1 also. So the 10 is the highest point in that 1 through 10 set, but it's bringing you to another point where you're going to have another 2 and a 3 and a 4, which is 11, which is a 2, a 12, which is a 3. And so it's all hidden in there, right? It's all part of it.
Yeah, that's if it
Cycles.
had that's if it had 10 or 9 densities, right? But in this case there are
Whereas it's
7,
all,
like the keys of a
yeah.
piano.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
it's all cycles within cycles, like Herbert would say. Plans within plans within plans. It's just like so, too complicated for our simple minds to comprehend.
Shall I share the screen again?
Let's do it.
Where did you leave off? I didn't notice.
La-da-da-da. La-da-da-da. I think right yeah. Eighth density represents a complete coalescence of all the creation of the one creator and can be viewed as the first density of a new octave, similar in arrangement to the notes of a musical scale. The fruits of this octave will eventually give birth to another octave of densities, whose fruits will give birth to another octave of densities, and so on infinitum, infinitely.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just gonna keep going and going. So we are in Delaware on our way down to Florida. We're going to Disneyland. Disney World, sorry, in Florida's Disney World. We're going down to Disney, and you got to go through Delaware. You gotta go over the Delaware Memorial Bridge. And you could go down to the Cape, take the bridge and go through Virginia Beach. You could do that too. But you got to go through all these places to get where you want to go, and that's where we are right now. So that's a good way to accept it. Okay, how the raw contact came to be. Don Elkins started asking the big questions about life when he was in junior high school. Yes, amidst the everyday reading, writing, and arithmetic. He was thinking to himself, what is the meaning of life? How big is the universe and how does it all work? What don't we know? That desire to understand and put the puzzle pieces together would persist unabated throughout his incarnation. In his professional life, Elkins would go on to become a professor of both mechanical engineering and physics. And in his personal life, a determined investigator of UFOs, reincarnation, and other areas of inquiry that might be cobbled together under the heading of the paranormal. So, see, this is why we get the aliens from another planet, right? Of course,
Mhm.
that's how they would explain it to him, or that's how
Yeah,
he would see it.
right.
Uh, you could even look at it as they just transferred information to him or to her, and that's how they were able to speak it to us, right? Like in these words of planets and things.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. He realized that modern science fell short of revealing the fundamental workings and purpose of the universe. So he turned to those fields for answers that science could not provide. Carla L. Ruckert was a person gifted since childhood with a soaring intellect and a profoundly deep and personal faith. On the latter point, she called herself a cradle Episcopalian and eventually a mystical Christian. On the former, Carla was a precocious child who excelled in school, mastering any test offered her. And most centrally, despite tough circumstances growing up, Carla vibrated with a love of life. She lived to dance, to sing, interact with nature, and to embody a life of devotion and service. She was so committed to the loving viewpoint that people often took her as an innocent or, next page, naive, innocent or naive, compelling from some a desire to protect and guard Carla against a world they felt was less pure than she was. Oh. In late 1961, Don was given a small brown volume creatively titled The Brown Notebook, which had been compiled by Walt Rogers of Detroit, Michigan, a fellow who previously experienced a face-to-face encounter with a UFO entity. After the encounter, Mr. Rogers, Mr. Rogers, displayed lingering telepathic contact with his entity, a phenomenon that frequently was reported in similar encounters in the 1950s. Roger compiled Brown Notebook. Rogers compiled Brown Notebook contained information about the metaphysical nature of reality from alleged extraterrestrial sources. It also described how a group of people who meditated together on a frequent basis could receive this sort of information via telepathic contact with extraterrestrial entities. Elkins was so thoroughly impressed with the correlations between the channeled material in the notebook and his own work that, based on this information, he decided to try an experiment with a dozen of his physics students in Louisville. News of that reached the ears of a girlfriend of one of those students. She had recently developed a driving interest in silence and love of meditation, so she asked to attend. Her name was Carla L. Ruckert. Don didn't tell the group what might happen, only that something interesting could possibly occur if they meditated together. He was actually attempting to conduct a scientific
Conduct.
experiment to see if the students would receive extraterrestrial telepathic contact without prompting. After some time had elapsed and no definitive results were produced, Walt Rogers
The
visited
group.
the group and channeled from his source, Hatan, the entity with whom he had experienced the face-to-face encounter. Hatan said that they had been trying to channel through some of Don's group, but the students were not aware that the impressions they had been receiving but not verbalizing were from extraterrestrials.
Interesting.
Interesting. Elkins
That
felt
makes me
that.
think of
Go ahead.
that makes me the book Far Journeys that I've been listening to, and of course his first book, Journeys Out of the Body. But go ahead.
Oh. After, excuse me, after this visit, everyone in the group except Carla learned how to channel. She preferred silent meditation. Carla's and Don's respective courses after this meeting took them on different paths for some time. But they would eventually reunite and officially join together upon a shared mission of research and seeking in 1968. 2 years later, they would form the L/L Company, changing its name to the L/L Research in 1976. Oh, and in 1974, 12
Hmm.
years after Carla attended Don's first channeling experiment, that Don asked Carla to take up on the channeling service herself. Oh, and it was in 1974 that Don asked Carla to take up the channeling service herself. Okay. Not coincidentally, this was The same year that Elkins began to actually preserve, not throw away or recycle, the cassette recordings of the channelings. The messages took a qualitative leap forward thanks to Carla's aptitude in channeling, coupled with with the refinements that she made to Don's rudimentary channeling protocols. Among these refinements, Carla developed a crucial. Oh, sorry, my for some reason iTunes opened. You know what? I think that maybe my keyboard's doing it. Let me do something right quick. All right, today's just a great day.
It's happening for a reason.
The sun's in retrograde. No. Let's see. Back to back. Okay. La la
I
la.
think right
Yes.
here.
Okay. Carla developed the crucial procedures of tuning the instrument and challenging the contact that became hallmarks of the LL Research's style of channeling. In 1978, Jim McCarty was living off the grid in a log cabin that he built on his 132 acres of land in the woods of central Kentucky. One evening, while he was listening on his battery-powered radio to station WKQQ broadcasting from Lexington, Kentucky, he heard an interview with Don Elkins and L. Ruckert on the topic of UFOs. Fascinated, Jim hoped to meet them one day. A year later, his wish came true when he was introduced to Don and Carla by fellow homesteaders who knew them. After driving to Louisville each Sunday night for a year to attend their channeling meditations, Don and Carla invited Jim to join them to help with their research. Jim moved in with them on December 23rd, 1980. 23 days later, on January 15th, 1981, while Carla was teaching a student how to channel, a voice spoke through Carla and said, "I am Ra." Prior to this session, all of Carla's channeling had been done consciously, but when servicing as an instrument to channel Ra, she went completely unconscious. In a way that was never fully understood by Don, Carla, or Jim, she left her body for the Ra contact. Ra was then able to remotely and mechanically operate Carla's vocal cords to produce replies to Don's questions. For every subsequent of the 105 sessions following the first one, Carla would slip into unconsciousness, completely unaware of what was coming through her. It wasn't until session 23 that Don began showing her the transcripts of Ra's words. He had previously kept them from her to preserve the scientific viability of the contact. The Ra contact was such a quantum leap forward in depth of insight and breadth of vision that Don, Carla, and Jim devoted themselves completely to this contact for the next 3 years and 2 months. They should have held out for one more month. Uh, the conversation with Ra. Ra's style of contact was question and answer only. They felt that this format was the best to ensure that the free will of each person in the group was not abridged. Ra described their contact as narrow band, which meant a few things. One, that considerable focus and discipline were required to maintain their contact. Two, that the quality of the information was of much greater precision and depth than was available through conscious channeling. And three, that they wished to focus principally upon philosophy and timeless spiritual principles, which meant avoiding transient information that had no lasting value. Who's gonna win the Super Bowl, Ra? Come on, Ra, hook it up.
Which horse is going to win? Which one of my
We're
horses
in
is going to
we're
win?
in Louisville, Ra. Who's gonna win the horse race? All right. Ra chose Don, Carla, and Jim to communicate with because, of course, Don and Carla had been practicing and refining the process of channeling for years. But more fundamentally, they chose these three seekers because, as a group, they enjoyed significant, sustained, almost effortless harmony. Of equal importance was Carla's absolute purity of desire and total dedication to be of service to the one infinite creator, especially through communication, and more especially through channeling. These factors supported the raw contact in a stable manner that would eventually produce 106 sessions exploring the law of one. The preparations for contact with Ra began the night before each session was to be held. Don, Carla, and Jim would meditate together and then go over the previous session, fashioning new questions to pose to Ra. It was discovered that sexual energy transfers lengthen. It was discovered that sexual energy transfers lengthen the Ra sessions by increasing Carla's vital energies. So Carla and Jim, having a relationship, would dedicate this transfer to the one creator and to the Ra contact. On the morning of the session, Don and Carla and Jim would have a light breakfast, and then Jim would give Carla a back massage to stave off the arthritic pain that would eventually come from her lying motionless for about an hour. Between breakfast and the session,
So what you
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so what you were saying earlier about things being like kind of a burden on them in some ways on their bodies, it seems that yeah, that was the case.
Oh yeah, especially if she had some kind of arthritis issue. Um,
Yeah, because of
go ahead.
being motionless like that the whole time.
Yeah, yeah, it's got to be tough to not move for an hour. Between breakfast and the session, they would meditate together in the living room, and during this meditation, Don would often receive another question or two to ask Ra. They would then retire to the Ra room and situate Carla on the bed in the middle of the room. Jim would set up the three tape recorders to ensure a successful recording. Don would measure what Ra called the appurtenances,
Appurtenances, maybe?
the appurtenances, the Bible, incense, chalice of water, and candle, to be sure that they were in optimal placement per Ra's instructions. These items were These items were chosen by Ra due to their personal significance to Carla, as she had served on her church's altar guild and had dressed the altar with these items each Sunday. They were a great comfort to her as she left her body. That makes sense. Hang on one second. Come here.
I don't know if I'm coming through, but I'll just say
Yeah, you are.
that um it's because she was a Christian, that this or considered herself kind of in, even if she was a Christian mystic or whatever, but the things were what were her things. Like if you're a Buddhist or you grew up uh in a Hindu or something, you would choose things. I guess you would choose things that were meaningful to you. So it's not like it's Christian, only the Christian stuff is the good stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it goes back to the worldview thing. And she viewed herself probably as a mystic Christian because she liked the community of, maybe she even went to a church. Some people go to churches and they see themselves more as a mystic or esoteric Christian, but they just like the community of it. So
Yeah,
you don't have to
totally.
woke rape anybody.
Yeah.
Ra gave the group a ritual of protection called the Circle of One, in which Don and Jim would walk around Carla while repeating the words that reflected their desire to be of service to others. Then Don would take his chair and review the questions for Ra, and Jim would take his chair and begin a meditation that would last for the duration of the session. He would visualize light moving through Carla's energy centers from the top of her head through the bottoms of her feet. Within a minute or two after completing the circle of one, Ra would begin the session. Interesting. During the 3 year contact with Ra, Don was able to ask over 2,600 questions of Ra. Their replies allowed him to fit together many of the puzzle pieces that he needed to finally answer his biggest, most pressing questions. Nice. The seeker seeks the one. Ra said that each of us is a seeker of truth as we strengthen our will to seek the truth and our own faith that we shall find love in ourselves and in the world around us. We also will surely find our true nature, which is another way of saying the one infinite creator. As Ra said, the seeker seeks the one. The one is to be sought, as we have said, by the balanced and self-accepting self, aware both of its apparent distortions and its total perfection. Oh yeah, exactly. Resting in this balanced awareness, the entity then opens the self to the universe which it is. The light energy of all things may then be attracted by this intense seeking, and wherever the inner seeking meets the attracted cosmic prana, realization of the one takes place. I like it. That's huge.
Yeah, totally.
All right. During our channeling sessions, the Confederation almost always prefaces each session by advising seekers to consider the messages carefully and to then use their own discernment to determine what is helpful and true for oneself and leave the rest behind. Exactly. That catches
Yeah.
me out when I said that was funny. We echo this sentiment to the readers in this book, encouraging all who read Ra's words to approach them with an open yet discerning mind. We use the word true above, but remind you that you are the truth that you seek. No message, philosophy, or any combination of words can ever equal or substitute for who you are. Boom.
Oh, wait. 1 second. I'll just.
Come here, kitty. All right, my kitty's having a panic attack over here. Blessings on your journey of seeking the one infinite creator in yourself, in your friends and family, and in the world around you. And that's what we talk about. That is so hard to do, right? To try to see everybody as the creator. You just want to see him as this fucking guy who's in front of you and he won't go. The light's green, dude, go. Like, right? So it's
And
note
this
to
is
the
the
reader.
last bit.
Okay. Note to the reader, when Don, Carla, and I were having these sessions with Rob back in the early 80s, we were partying our balls off. No, we knew that we were living the best days of our lives. We knew that this work was the primary reason that we were on this earth. We could hardly believe our good luck to be involved with extraterrestrial entities who spoke so eloquently, so precisely, and so profoundly about the nature of creation, how we'll all evolve through it, the meaning of life, and how love, light, and unity are the basic building blocks of all things. I want to do that without taking a breath. Was that? All right, sorry. No, I love it though. It's great. Quite similarly, Ra spoke the language of our hearts and our souls, and we vibrated in harmony with everything that they had to say. Over the years, we have found that there is a small community of seekers of truth who also have this powerful sympathetic vibration with Ra's information. If you are one of these people, welcome to our family. Even if we never meet, it's good to know that you are here. In our shared service to the one infinite creator, we are always together, no matter what the appearance of our physical realities may seem to be. So we send our love and light to you and ask that you share your love and light with everyone that you meet in all present and future life experiences. Jim McCarty. That's a nice little note to the reader there.
And he's the last surviving member of the three.
How old
Can you
is
hear
he
me?
now, I wonder?
Oh, I
Yeah,
don't know. Good point. I
because I
don't
mean,
know
they were
how old
talking
he
about
is.
being in the 60s and they got to be like
Yeah, so
80s. That was
maybe,
40 years ago.
yeah, maybe. I think Carla was like in her 20s, probably when doing those things, in, when she was attending those meditations by Dawn. And I think Dawn was much older than her, well, at least older enough than her because he was a professor and she was like a girlfriend of one of the students. So, however old that
Yeah.
makes. And I think Jim McCarty, who came along later, was maybe he was around her age or a little older. I don't remember, but I'm sure we could look it up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
Well, I, I know there's more you wanted to cover, right?
um
The other.
it's just a little bit from a different book. If you want to, we can just quickly look at it.
Oh, okay.
Um it just we could talk about it more at some point, but I just wanted to point out how interesting the uh the correlations are. But I don't know, do you want to do that now shall we save it for another time?
Well, that's what I was thinking because you can hardly really talk.
Yeah,
And I know you
it
have a lot to
sucks.
say about it though, so.
I suppose, yeah.
But you know, it's up to you. I love talking about this law of one stuff, so I don't mind coming back to talk about it again.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we can do an episode where we talk about how it correlates with some other interesting information.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And
Like what?
we can just focus on the other book, Far Journeys, later.
All right. That sounds pretty
So
good. Let's see. Yeah, we've been going.
sorry about this, guys. It's a weird day.
Yeah, sorry everybody. It's maybe the saddle-loons are upside down today. Somebody's gotta Someone's gotta go turn the she's back, everybody. Look. Thank you guys so much for hanging out all the way to the end of the episode and listening to us read through that stuff. How interesting that is. And I really love their message because, you know, they're basically just saying that get your own view. You know, we did this. We think it was really cool and important, but take your own truth out of it and leave the rest. Don't worry about the rest. You know, like don't worry about Venus if you're not into Venus or, you know, whatever they talk about. It's like this is just the way that it came through. Um, you know, I'm trying to think of other and it's just
Indeed.
information, right? Like, and
Yeah.
again, if this is all within the way that we look at everything being within in the planets and space and everything that's out there, there could be other, who knows, part of this thing out there, but just not in a way that's explained to us from physical science. You know, it could be other, who knows what could be out there when we look up, because that's just what's inside. It's just the deepness or whatever. So maybe it's the next level. We're looking at other octaves out there at night. You know, we have no idea what we're looking at. So
Yeah, we don't. And hopefully if we get into the book Far Journeys, it'll elucidate some more stuff because it's done so for me. And if I'm allowed to speak here, God, if you want me to say something right now, then so be it. If not, just cut me off. um, it just gives me so much more peace about what we're doing in this realm. Um, to read the stuff in Far Journeys because we don't know. We don't know what this all is, exactly, and it just brings us to more questions and all the things that people have experienced doing these out of body experiences. And there's so many varied um experiences that it's hard to say anything at all about it. You're just like, you just take it and you go, that just gives me more things to think about about what this realm is and what this world is about. It's like what law of the infinite creator is experiencing itself through us, through our experiences. So, however it happens, it happens. Live your life, experience, explore. You are the part of that one infinite creator. So explore, enjoy,
that's right.
right?
So many people have so many different views on life and they describe it in so many different ways. Of course, they're going to describe death in different ways or what they see after they die or think they die and stuff like that. So, yeah, who knows? Who knows?
And that's the thing too, is like it gives you less worry about death. It just shows you that we go on. Like we won't, it doesn't end when you pass away, when you die, when your body does.
Ice Cube of
Your
spiritual. Yes, sorry. You were breaking up. You started
damn it.
again though. As I started to talk, you came in and I looked. I thought you were
Yeah.
frozen for a minute.
Well, I'll shut up.
No, everything you're saying is totally 1,000% right though. So I guess you know what? Everybody listen. If you don't know by now, just keep watching. We'll figure it out because we don't know either. We just keep talking and we're figuring it out too. Yes, thank you, Mihal. You are amazing. We know very little in the grand scheme of things, and with the possibilities changing with each and every subtle little change. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And yes, Tony, I am this Ice Cube of spiritual podcasts. Ice Cube will swarm. All right. Yeah, no, so what was I gonna say?
We've
Yes,
been going
so
about, go ahead.
what did we learn today, everybody? That again, as we said, it's just a different way to explain what's going on. We're not victims. We're here in the frontier to experience. It's an exciting time to be alive. It always has been and always will. And these lessons are being served up are exactly what we need. So you can learn your lessons through suffering or through joy, as we've heard it through by Fortune Saint Germain. So we're trying to choose joy over here. I don't know about you guys. Yeah, all right. I guess we can get out of here. Thank you guys so much. We've been going for almost about 2 hours now. Yeah. So a little bit of technical difficulties today, but we got through it and we got everything we wanted to. Yeah, there we go. Showing the crystals. I got this. This one I've had for a while. It's my golden healer heart. I brought this to Arizona with me, I'm sure. Yeah, very nice. All right. Well,
Sorry.
remember, everybody, morelawsmoreproblems.com is the website. Several ways there to support us financially. If you like what you heard, hook us up. The best way to support us is to go to, like I said, morelawsmoreproblems.com, or is to be here every Thursday when we either go live or premiere and hang out in the chat. Subscribe, hit thumbs up if you liked what you heard and saw, and share it around with people you think that will benefit. And that's all we got to say about that. Are you back with us, Sharon? Because you're frozen. There she is. All right, I'm done fixing my hair. It's like a Brandon
Grit.
hair commercial over here. Uh, so what do we say to the good people, Sharon? Uh-oh, she froze again. I guess we can't leave. We can't leave until
Oh,
Sharon tells us what
good
we say to the good people.
God. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you now. Yep, there you go.
Once you start over Sharon,
Then you totally stop over Karen.
that's right.
And remember, everybody, we're not trying to tell you how to live.
We're just telling you that those who know don't speak, and those who speak don't know. So I'll shut the F up now.
That's right. And sometimes the internet doesn't let you speak. All right, everybody. Until next week, keep over Sharon. Have a great weekend. Take care. And remember, you are a victor. You're not a victim. Could it be? I don't know. Whatever. Later, guys. Take care. Ciao.